you say you don't really want to be pushing the cost onto consumers, even though a lot of the increases on your end are kind of out of your control because the global shipping situation is what it is right now,
Mhm.
right? You still have to be contending with trying to provide the best value for your customers, but also having to be contending with your competition, right?
Yes.
So with that in mind now, so you have a lot of competitors in the baked goods market, in the pastry market. How do you stay ahead of the game with that?
Well, having telling you how we stay ahead might not be good for our competitive edge,
Oh well, fair enough.
but nonetheless, I share it because it is who I am. We just have to stay creative.
Mm,
You may know about some of our products, like the Goldies, which has filling in the cake. Yes, there was a Twinkie that has that in abroad, but it's
hmm.
still innovative if it's here in Jamaica. So making Jamaica's first Goldie was creative. We also have products like cheese in our spice bun. That's our cheese bun. We
Right.
have things like our newest cinnamon raisin loaf.
Yeah, man, I
So
love those.
yeah, so you toast one of those and you eat your egg with that. I mean, just keeping creative. So I have never been one to try to, let me just use a very colloquial term, box the food out of somebody's mouth. So if somebody, a small bakery is making bulla and they're doing well, I don't want to, because I'm bigger, go
Hmm.
into that space. I create new spaces, and so that is how we've managed to keep competitive. Innovative is one part of our mission statement, and our mission statement is to lead through innovation, achieve success, and serve the greater good of mankind. So, lead, achieve, and serve. And so, innovate is the first part of leading. We lead through being creative. So, that's our competitive edge.
Okay, that's great. That's great. Right, because I can imagine that with that in mind, how do you then now decide what your new products are going to be? I'm sure you have a team that goes out and says, oh, they do market tests, they put out some questionnaires, some case studies, just to try and get a feel of what the consumers are really looking for these days. But ultimately the decision has to come about to which one are we choosing? Which one are we going with to launch coming soon?
Well, we base most things on feedback. So if we make a new product, we send it out to our outlets and we test it and we hear the feedback. So it's usually based on very easy feedback at first before you go to do market surveys or market testing. But once we get a good feedback, then the product quality and variations are normally tested. Like, what flavors in this cake do you like? So
Mm,
yeah, so then we bump up the surveying a notch, and it usually, but usually, I'll tell you, the most creative ideas don't necessarily come from the customers, because a customer would not know what is innovative if it's not in the market yet. So you
right.
kind of have to think to yourself, people like cinnamon. It's very convenient to have this bread sliced. Last year Easter, we launched our sliced bun.
Right.
So we try to look for what is it that the customers like and take them one step beyond what they already like and give them something more. So
Mhm.
the slice bun, you buy your Easter bun and you don't have to slice it. You know how when you're slicing it, you're getting the knife going diagonal and all of that?
Right, and sometimes it cut lean, and
Cut
sometimes
lean.
right.
Yes. So we really just try to be in the mind of the consumer and project what they already like.
Hmm. Okay, understood. But sometimes in that case, you have to be taking risks as well, right? Because sometimes it may not necessarily be what's on the market at the moment, or
Yes.
what the consumer may be looking for. But sometimes you really have to take a leap on your own to find what could possibly be a great idea that nobody's
Yeah.
just hadn't thought of yet.
Yeah, but no business is gonna do well if they don't take some risks,
Right.
especially in financing.
Mm.
1876 invest, right? You have to
Right,
take
that's
risk
right.
sometimes. You have to take some risk at some point. You can't be safe and be saved.
That's right. Risk is really where we make a lot of the money, especially in like the local markets.
Yes.
So any examples of in the history in all the years of only been reaching up to now, like you can give us like examples of some of the risks that you would have taken.
Yes, so we would have taken risks with some of those new products, as you
Hmm.
were alluding to. It would have been a risk because, for example, when we did the gold, we had to invest a lot in equipment. It's not equipment that we already had, so we had to invest a lot. And usually, the investment, especially if you are not able to calculate the projected sales because you're not basing it on anything, that's the financials are always one risk, the investment. Um, Before I talk about the risk, I will just tell you how we manage risk. So we have a risk register, which is something through the HoneyBun Foundation and our work with small businesses that we encourage a lot, where you actually have a register where you put down all the things that could happen, risks, and you plan for the risk. So we would have planned for a lot of risks even before they happen. So we call them mitigation, of course. How do you minimize the risk? Some of them you can control and some of them you can't. So when the pandemic happened, we were already in a mitigation mindset because our food safety program that we were HACCP certified for, that's an international food safety certification. A lot of the ways in which you manage food safety would have come in very handy for a pandemic because now you have to be very sterile about what you do. So that would have preempted even the pandemic. So that's how we manage risk. In terms of what other risks there would have been, going on the stock market would have been a risk in a sense. I think that you see it as a risk more before you go on than you do after. Because companies often, and we would have been included, wonder, my competitor is going to be able to go online and see what I'm doing.
Right.
Is that risky? So it has worked out that it's not.
Yeah, man. Especially at the time, because that would have just been like 3 years after the junior market had been founded, right? So
Yes.
it would have a lot of at the time it was the market then is not at all what the market is now. So it would have been really, really, really a big decision at the time. And so I
Yes.
actually had this lined up. So your company listed on a junior market in 2012. So what exactly was the mindset behind it, like coming to that decision and the conclusion?
So, just before you ask the question, I was going to say to you, it was not so difficult a decision for us.
Okay.
It felt a little scary, but it was like scary exciting. um,
Right.
I think that coming on to the junior stock exchange was not scary for us because of the reasons we did it. So, one of the big reasons is the tax incentive, which, yes, 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 we would have looked at that and said, yes, that would be nice. At the time, of course, you're not making the type of money you're making now, so it wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
whole lot of tax savings.
Yeah, we're looking
But
forward.
you're right. But some of the more important reasons was one, we're a family company. So I needed to make the business a little more corporate. So my
Mm.
husband and I discussed it and we said, with the children in the business, because I had three children working in the business at the time. Now I have two. My daughter migrated. We needed to answer to more than just your parents. So
Right.
now they're answering to a board of directors, right? And if you needed a successor, the board would be the one to determine. And it won't be, oh, that's your preference, whoever, whatever. It's going to be based on directors who know the business, have an interest in the business. So I think just to make a family business more structured and corporate was the bigger of the two reasons in terms of the tax savings and the family
Right.
business.
Yeah, man, but there's a lot to the market, like taking part. So you definitely have the structure now that's a lot more formalized with, say, a board of directors who everybody has to come together and sit down and come to certain agreements. But then you also have the opportunities to, say, raise capital, where they want to do a rights issue, or, well, I don't even like APOs, to be honest, but APOs are an option, right? And then you also have, say, the stock splits. Whenever you find that the company isn't trading in the way that you would like, or maybe you have a director or a connected party who wants to make a partial exit, or just to really sell out into some other people. So you want to increase the liquidity of the stocks and just move it out like that. So there are a lot of options and benefits to being on a market like that.
Yes, maybe we're a little more conservative than most because we're not going to go out to get more funding if we don't know what we need it for.
Mm,
So we're pretty cash strong right now. So we need to be able to understand more, and we do have some bigger plans in place that will probably need some more investment in the business. See, there you go.
all right.
I should have saved that to the end, Justin.
Oh, that's fine. We'll go over it.
Okay. Yes, well, most companies are looking how to grow bigger. So we're not fooling ourselves. We're very much there too. There's nothing surprising about that. Some of them you can manage out of your cash flow, and some of them, if you go to bed and wake up and you're thinking much bigger, you say, "Yes, this is a good idea. Let me do this." So some of them are more than probably what you can easily afford from the cash.
Hmm.
So we are thinking there. We're thinking.
Right. Yeah, man. Especially because right now, I think the decision has actually been made, because today is, at the time of recording, it's September 30, 2021. And and the BOJ has pretty much come to the conclusion that, yes, they are in fact raising the interest rates. So the cost of debt and borrowing is pretty much set to
Yes,
go from now.
there you go. Yeah.
Yeah. So from
So
then
that's
on.
that's a big reason to be a part of the stock exchange. The cash you raise is you don't have to pay it back.
Right,
Yeah.
trust me. To me, it's always equity and then debt. It's always the order in my mind.
Okay.
Right,
Yeah.
right, right,
People
right.
worry about what they're giving up though, but they don't think about what they're gaining.
Exactly.
They don't think about that.